So now that we got our world set up, let's create a ball in Box2D and make it move in the world. However, unlike in our last example, what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a sprite and use that to represent the ball visually instead of using debug draw like we did before. Now, the way I'm actually going to do it here is probably not the way we're going to want to create objects in a real application, but I think in terms of understanding what's going on and how it all works, it's good for demonstration purposes. So first things first, let's switch back to Flash, and I am going to create a new symbol. We'll call it ball sprite. We'll click export for ActionScript just so I can create one of these in ActionScript, and it can use sprite as its base class. I hear it's slightly more efficient to use sprite as your base class than movie clip, so I guess we'll do that. Let's we'll create our ball. Maybe I'll add a little bit of highlighting. Good enough. That's the best we're going to get with my crappy art skills. Anyway, I'm going to just scale this down to, let's make it 30 by 30. And we'll center it around the 0 point. So I've got my width and height is 30 by 30. My x and y is my -15 and -15. Now, we're going to switch back to our application, and we will have a make ball function. Hit Control Shift 1, generate the function, and we're basically going to do two things here. First thing we're going to do is create the sprite, and the next thing we're going to do is create the B2 body. And actually, I think I'm going to make these member variables of the class. So up here, I'm going to declare my ball sprite as a sprite. I'm going to declare my ball body as a B2 body. So we're going to say ball sprite equals new ball sprite. This is this library symbol that we've created. We're going to add this child. Maybe just to make sure I haven't screwed anything up yet, let's run this. And look, there's our little ball up in the corner of our application. It's set at 0, 0. All right, good. Look at that progress. All right, now we're going to create the body. And, sorry, we got to make the shape def. Actually, sorry, it's not going to be a shape def, it's going to be a circle def. If you're following on the tutorials, this might be the first time you've encountered a B2 circle def. It works very much like a polygon def, except that instead of defining vertices, the only thing we really need to define is a radius for the radius of the circle we're going to create. So let's do that. Make it 15, and remember we have to divide by this ratio number so that we can convert from pixels to meters. And let's make the density 1. We'll create the body definition. Is a new B2 body def, so that we can set its position to somewhere close to the center of the screen. We'll go with 200. Oops, sorry. And 10. And remember, we have to divide by our ratio to make sure we're converting from pixels to meters. And then finally, we can take our ball body. We're going to call up this world variable that we've stored over in physevals, and we're going to tell it to create a body. And we're going to pass to it our ball body def. We can then create a shape using the ball shape def, And then we can call set mask from shapes. We do all this, and if we run it, and we've got our sprite here in the corner, that's still at 0, 0, and then somewhere in the background we have our B2 body representing our ball in the physical world that we can't see because we haven't turned on debug draw, and actually probably isn't moving because we haven't called the step function at every frame. So let's do that. First things first, I'm going to make sure my frame rate is set to something like 30, which it is. And then I'm going to add my enter frame listener. New frame listener. Again, hit Control-Shift-1 to generate the event handler. And we're going to do two things here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our world and we're going to tell it to step. This is the same thing we did before, just telling it every frame I want you to simulate 1/30th of a second passing in our physics world. And then we're going to do something else here. We're going to take our ball sprite and we're going to move it to wherever our ball body is located. So in other words, the x value of this ball sprite, we're going to look at the position of the B2 body. Getting the position simply gets me the x and y values in a B2 vector. So I hit .x to get the x value. And remember, this is coming from the physical world, so it's in meters. So once again, we have to multiply by this ratio number to make sure we now get it in pixels. We're going to do the same thing to set the y value of our ball sprite. And then the last thing we need to do, which probably won't be very dramatic given that it's a perfect circle, is set the rotation. And to do that, all we do is we get the ball body and we call this getAngle function. It returns the angle in radians. So again, if we want to convert that to degrees, we have to multiply by 180 and divide by math.pi. So let's review what we've done. We've created a ball sprite and we've placed that onto the stage. We've also simulated a ball body inside our B2 world. And then at every frame, we update our world, and then we set the x and y value and the rotation of the sprite to match that of the ball body that is being simulated in our B2 world. So it gives us the illusion that this sprite is behaving the way this ball body is. So I hit save, we run it, cross our fingers, and there you go. We now have, let's do that one more time, we now have a sprite mirroring the behavior of a body that is moving in our B2 world. Granted, it's not doing a whole lot exciting because it's just falling straight down, but given that we're actually seeing this happen using real sprites and not using debug draw is a pretty big step forward. So that's pretty cool, but you can kind of tell our code's already starting to get messy. All we've done is added one little ball, no game logic code or anything like that, and we've already started filling up our code with a lot of B2 bodies and a lot of sprites, and pretty soon this is going to be messy if we try and add in anything to the extent of a game like Peggle. So I think maybe it's time to start thinking about how we want to architect this thing for real, and we'll do that next.